The Flogcast may occasionally contain explicit content that makes it not safe for work or for minors. It also doesn't provide an excuse to use the same words on Bay 13. Normal Big Footy rules still apply.
Alright, so this is the Flogcast for the grand final. The emotionally checked out Tiger Starburns is here, and I'm joined by the Andrew Mackey of podcasts from St Kilda, Cooksen.
Bum 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 bum.
The Flogcast's resident piano man, Dan.
I'm going to give you one last chance. One last chance to end this stupid charade regarding Damien Hardwick's ability as a coach. Because if you don't let up and come full circle, you're going to have to stick with this for the entirety of his coaching career, and we're going to hold you accountable for all the success and premierships and Coaches of the Year awards that he gets, because he's already got one. It's official now.
This is the intro. You're meant to save.
I don't care. This is the intro. This is what I'm going with. We're holding you accountable.
No, can you shut up so I can introduce the other people who are giggling in the background?
I'm not stopping you from introducing everybody else. Go right ahead.
The head of security on the Collingwood board and head of recruiting, Morgan Ashley.
Hello.
The number one fan of Sam McClure from Norf, Grille.
G'day, guys. G'day, Sam, if you're listening. Hit me up, bro.
And Big Footy and Bay 13's number one exporter of baby formula from Hawthorn, Penal.
What up, my tiggers?
All right, goo or tears. I'm going to go first. I've got goo for being wrong. I've got goo for being wrong. It was an absolute masterstroke from Richmond to recruit Daniel Rioli. See what I did there? You thought I was going somewhere else.
I thought you were going to crack.
Is that the only thing you've been wrong about?
Only time can tell on that one, Cooksen, but I'm sure as shit
Time
not
has
tempting
tell.
fate this week.
I didn't say shit. Give up.
Oh,
It was Penal.
Penal.
Oh, look, he was wrong again.
Hashtag
Starburns was wrong.
Hashtag Starburns was wrong. You know what? I'm very happy to be wrong in this particular situation. He was the difference. He kicked more goals than any Rioli in a final, I believe. At least certainly one in the last 30 years. So it was a fantastic
But it's the
performance
thing
from him.
that Cyril does off the ball that counts. So
Off the ball. Daniel did a lot of stuff off the ball, and he also did stuff on the ball, and he was very, very fucking good. And he played a real finals game of substance.
What inspired this run of form from the best Rioli?
Obviously, Blake Carousella. Duh.
Or it could be with the fact that he lives with the best coach in the competition. That's what it is.
That's what I was getting at. Thank
He's
you,
also
Dan.
lived with that coach all year, and he has had patchy form.
No.
This year. He stepped up when it mattered.
The coach
though.
of
when
the
it
year
mattered.
to you.
But Starburns, don't you understand that his season today has been building toward this moment?
Well, I hope not, because there's another game to go.
Well, I've got a theory here, and obviously Daniel Rioli lives with Hardwick, and he actually took Hardwick's daughter to the Brownlow.
Does anyone else think that was strange?
Clearly, no.
Oh.
This is. I've got it all
Yeah,
written down.
you
It's
thought
a
of
it's
This
a quid
is
pro
really
quo.
This
so
really
wrong about
stinks
that?
of like this stinks of like fucking Michael Orr shit. Why is he living
No,
there?
it's a quid pro quo.
Why go out and
if-
chase tail when it's right there under the roof?
If
This is
Rioli
the blind
performs
side.
for
It is the
if-
blind side AFL edition.
if
Is
Rioli
he
performs
homeless?
for
Why is he living in
Hardwick,
Hardwick? Why is he living there?
But at least he knows her. At least he knows that she's not after his cash.
Speaking of Brownlow dates, apparently Jade Gresham took a random girl off Tinder. He just met literally on the day.
That is awesome.
I heard something like that. It was either the day before or the day on the Brownlow, but that's what he did.
That
was
is
his
fair.
date.
No,
The first
that's
date is at
awesome.
the Brownlow. Gee, that's all right. Can only go downhill from there.
Quid pro quo, I believe, was discussed before we started.
well, that's so obviously what the Rioli Hardwick thing is, because like if Rioli performs on the field for Hardwick, then Hardwick's daughter will perform off the field for Rioli.
You know. Anyway, who wants to go next?
I'm going to have tears. For all those really stupid Richmond supporters who were giving shit to Brett the Leader, like, oh, he left the chase flags, blah, 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 blah. He left because he was cooked, let's be frank, and GWS gave him a role.
He didn't think he'd be missing a grand final.
He probably didn't even think he'd be playing Richmond at prelim week.
To be perfectly honest, it's probably the deal probably allowed them to juggle their squad to get them in this position.
Oh, not real. That deal hasn't impacted us yet.
But salary cap wise, surely the money that they saved on him that they've used for Prestia.
No, we paid most of his contract this year. That was part of the deal for getting the great draft pick we got for him.
Yeah, or even the draft pick. Like, was the draft pick?
It's comes
something
this
you're
year.
holding now,
It comes
or-
this
yeah.
year. We're holding it now. It'll be this year.
But I
Or
mean,
the future.
but
Geelong's
I mean-
future. We hold Geelong's future in our hands.
do you think that Richmond would be in the situation if he was there?
Of course not. Nobody did. He didn't. And I actually will say that I went to the game very anti-booing Lids. I thought it would be poor. I thought shouldn't happen. And much to my embarrassment, I got reeled in by it. But I still think it wasn't fair.
You should have saved your lungs for the
But that said,
Saturday.
I also booed Toby Green every time he touched it. So
Yeah, but
So
that's
Yeah.
normal
It's-
pantomime. But booing
It's all
is
part of the spectacle.
That's the moment.
I don't think
because-
he deserved the crap that he got. And if no one else had booed, I sure as shit wouldn't have. But the fact that everyone else sort of did, it was very easy to get caught up in that at that
You got
particular
swayed
game.
into booing. You are weak.
Yeah, peer pressure got me. Yeah, I'll absolutely admit that, and I didn't enjoy it at the time, but
Well, that's soft. You've got to be your own person. Come
well,
on.
I did it to create
that's
the
why I,
atmosphere.
That's why I
Join in.
booed Goods. That's why I booed Goods and chanted Sydney take it up the arse at the 2014 grand final. I just got swayed into doing it because everyone else was doing it.
Yeah.
It was very easy to get pulled into it with the atmosphere of the crowd and the idea of just making it a hostile atmosphere.
Well, that would have been something else. I mean,
Yeah, like that was sort of like I booed Stevie J too, who I actually quite like as a footballer, but I still booed him because
he
everybody
was
else
an
was.
absolute shit bucket the whole game.
It's just it was very easy to boot anyone at any opportunity the crowd took on Saturday.
Except for Daniel
It's just-
Rioli.
That was goo. Anybody else want to go next?
I got tears.
Mm.
This has happened again. I have tears for the rort that is the Brownlow medal.
Oh, I
And if
knew
the
as soon as that
if the
happened that you would...
If the AFL keeps doing this, a lot more people are going to start catching on. Now, we talked about this a number of times regarding Fife Pritis. The AFL has some stupid image thing where they don't want an ineligible player polling the most votes in the Brownlow. It happened again last night when one Patrick
Now that's bullshit. You know Pritis won fair and square in
did
2014.
not. No, fuck, that still shits me. He's a Brownlow medalist.
I'm going to give him a standing
Dangerfield-
ovation on Saturday too, for what it's worth. Dan,
Well, you
he'll
can
deserve.
do that.
He'll deserve
Yeah,
every
Oh,
he
he's
won't
second.
going to take her.
Because you're a short ass. He won't see you, so it doesn't matter. It's just
Down on your seat.
stay on your
He's
seat.
taking a sign. Mate 13 loves you, Matty.
Please do that.
You're our goo.
Not the
On the
West
other
Coast board.
Saying Dangerfield was going to poll more votes than Martin, and I'm not.
He was,
This isn't a
though.
slight on Martin. Martin's
That's
had
what
a.
Lloyd- Martin
Yeah,
was always the
deserved-
best on ground for that club. It's such a... It's
Really,
You-
see, I get
you're well off.
your argument, Dan, but if they hadn't
round
rigged it, it would have
22,
only tied.
Patrick Dangerfield had 32 disposals, 2 goals, 2, and 12 clearances in a game against the Magpies, in which Geelong won. He was the clear best on ground.
And he finished 3 votes behind Martin, so what difference would it have made?
He was
Even
best
Martin,
game.
Martin had a game when he was arguably best on ground and he didn't get votes. I mean, nobody's talking about that
Yeah.
game.
Well, as soon as they get their votes from Armoured Guard, they start counting, and they already know who the winner is before the count even starts. They make amendments through the votes so that the eligible winner is the clear winner, and the winner with
I
the most.
disagree, and I actually heard Jared Waitley come up with a very interesting theory as to this on 360 tonight, where he said that it's not a deliberate rigging, but it's more a subconscious thing where if they've got 4 players who they think deserve it, they're probably going to leave the ineligible one out because they know the votes aren't going to make a difference to him. And I can
Yeah,
see
like
why you would
when-
do that. Like, as someone who votes on the MVP, on Bay 13 most years. Once you have a clear winner, which you usually do by finals time, you stop voting for them.
Well, when I saw on the main board, there were all these Geelong supporters basically saying Gillen had rigged the votes, like whited out the name and put someone else's name there instead of Dangerfield the week after he came back from suspension or something. Like, surely not. I mean, you're practically fucking accusing the bloke of corruption. What you're accusing of is borderline libelous. And
Banter, not
like,
slander.
It's so much easier just to think like, you know, Occam's razor. You know, the simplest outcome is usually the correct one. It's so much more plausible to just think, instead of this massive cover-up, to think Gill's rigged the votes or something, which would obviously have massive lawsuit implications because of the betting industry if it was ever proven true.
And also,
it's so much more plausible to think that just the umpires, the week after a bloke gets suspended, are not going to give 3 votes because, he's suspended. It's front of my mind, and maybe Gill's had a word to them during the week. If so, you can't really prove it. It's not like he's actually rigged
All the more
votes.
reason why they would do it if you can't prove it, because no one else has access to those votes.
But
Gillen
that's it.
knows
It's not
primaries
that
on the
Yeah, but
table.
it's like a subconscious thing by the umpires. What these Geelong nuffies are saying is that Dangerfield
Suspended
actually.
players that still get votes anyways. He got votes in round 23.
Yeah, but what the
It's
Geelong
not like-
nuffies are saying is they rigged the votes and Dangerfield got more votes and then they just whited him out and put someone else's name there.
If that's the case, why did they vote for him in round 23 when clearly Geelong won by so much it would have been way
Because
easier?
the way they were doing it in the telecast, they wanted to add suspense. I don't know why they
I
chose
disagree.
to.
I disagree
But
because
it's too
not
much
like
of a
the
coincidence. It's happened twice now.
It's not like it's the first time that a player has got the most votes and not won the Brownlow. They've dealt with this in the past. They'll deal with it again.
Dan has to believe this because otherwise, if he doesn't, Pritis is a
AFL
legitimate Brownlow
have this-
medalist and he
have
can't
this-
hack that.
This is almost
Even though he nearly
Big
won
Footy's
it twice.
version of Flat Earth.
No, it's not. There's some legs to this. Flat Earth is just stupid. This has legs. The AFL view the Brownlow medal as this prestigious award and this big TV extravaganza.
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 They have a track record of rigging.
They have a track record of rigging the Brownlow.
But who gives a fuck? Because who,
Extravaganza.
actually, at the end of the day, who gives a fuck? Because it's the
Yeah.
fairest best. They're not going to win
Well,
if they get
I
most
said-
votes not being the fairest.
I did. Well, then what? Well,
Well, who cares?
If Dangerfield got more votes, right, no one would be saying that Martin isn't a worthy winner. He had a better year than Dangerfield.
I wanted Dangerfield to poll the most votes because that would have just been so more lulzy in terms of the melts and
Yeah,
the
me
salt
too.
from the Geelong supporters.
It's
But
so funny.
but to think that this is just a massive conspiracy and Gill has single-handedly read out different votes and just whited out Dangerfield's name in order to read someone else so as to not look awkward, just fucking pants on head retarded.
You guys don't think there's something fishy going on
No.
with the...
I honestly don't. For a lot of reasons.
Martin 100% deserved to poll the most votes
Oh,
as
I'm not
Pritis
questioning
3
that.
years
Of course
ago.
he
You
does.
think that?
No,
but seriously,
Pritis
you think
one is-
if the AFL were going to script an outcome, why would they pick the guy that can't fucking say his own name and the guy whose dad's fucking been sent to Auckland? He can't live in the country because
You know why?
We
You
What
know
a
what?
great story.
We shouldn't even indulge this. This is just Dan's irrational Brutus hate rearing its ugly head yet again.
Yeah.
And the other thing, Dan,
man,
this isn't new. Like when Ackermanis won it, there's that infamous Andrew McLeod game where he was absolutely dominant. He got like 30 disposals and kicked a couple of goals, and he was odds on to get 3 votes. He polled donuts, and Ackermanis won because of it. And you reckon that
Umpires
Guys,
umpires
the
fuck
thing
it up
is-
sometimes?
They do.
Why
they
has
absolutely
nobody
do.
touched on the biggest fast that was last night?
Well,
it has nothing to
we
do
were
with
gonna come to
Justin
that. Is that your tears?
that's going to come.
No, I don't have tears. I've got goo. I've got goo for the great news I heard on SEN as I pulled up in the driveway tonight. Apparently, Jesse White is going to play basketball.
What?
NBL, or
NBL.
just
NBL.
like
He wants to play for Melbourne United. He can't thinks he's Jared Hayne. Oh, he's obviously played a bit of NBA 2K18 and gone, I can do this.
Basketball than
well,
just
he doesn't
like.
like contact, so it's probably a good environment for him.
Well, this is great because Melbourne United's colours are the same colours as Collingwood, sort of. Jesse White lives on.
I wonder if Jesse's shooting would have anything in common with his goal kicking.
Jesse's
Can you imagine him going none from 10 from outside through?
Jesse's going to be that classic.
I'll give you the hot tip though.
Go.
He would be the greatest player in the preseason there's ever been.
They've already had that.
He'll
They've
probably
already had
get because he can
I think
play
they've already-
when he doesn't need to.
No, Jesse White, if he ever plays NBL, he's going to be the classic NBL centre. And an NBL centre differs from an NBA centre. An NBL centre will average 1.7 points a game, 15 rebounds.
Hey, Grille,
And-
stop raining on my fucking parade.
So it
This
sounds
is
like
good.
he
Bro,
sounds
can
like
do
it
that.
sounds like MVP material. Just off.
No.
MVP.
That
MVP.
is no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that is good. Like, his football background would be quite handy there.
Oh, so
I
this is
can't
like
wait.
our
I can't
basketball
wait to hear the
background makes you
commentators
good
talk
football.
about
It
how he
goes
can-
both ways.
Oh,
Thank
great.
you. That's what I was getting at. Fuck.
So he's the reverse Pendlebury.
No, can I do my tears now?
Yeah. Well, we're not meant to have both, but please go.
If we're not meant to do a lot of things, but we do. Is this where I'm allowed to melt?
Yeah.
How on earth is nobody ripping down AFL House right now at the fact that cunt Scott Pendlebury got like 17 votes?
Yeah, that kind of caught me off guard.
He
How
had,
did
he had
get
15 to like the
bloody-
halfway point, and he was like running third. If he didn't get injured, he might have been.
Like 2 votes behind at round 17. 2 votes behind. Oh, thank fuck he didn't play the last 8 games. Oh, mate, I was furious. Who the fuck is giving this cunt votes?
The same people who rig it, right, Dan?
Yeah, it was rigged.
Pretty much.
See, you don't have to be accountable at all. If I was fucking voting, you wouldn't get any. Maggot.
Who else wants to go? Who hasn't gone? I think
Well,
we got 2.
can I restore a bit of balance to the discussion and have Goo for the Brownlow votes? Just because I think the umpires clearly got it mostly right out there. Just because not only did Tom Mitchell get a deserved 25 votes, and of course that was enough for outright second, but in fact we saw Ryan Burton polled 2 votes out there, and one Andrew McGrath polled 0 votes. A big fat donuts for Andrew McGrath. So clearly the umpires have got it right this year. Much more knowledge of the game could be found amongst the umpires compared with the fucking idiots like Luke Darcy that they have on the Rising Star panel.
Yeah, I know.
How the fuck did Luke Parker get 16 votes as well?
Parker.
Coasting
Oh,
on
blame
fast
Bob.
stories like Pendlebury, I believe.
I blame
That
Von,
Asian chick.
bitch.
Even Bontempelli got 19 and he was shit for most of the
Oh,
season.
that was
Actually, that's the biggest one for me because I mean, I didn't see a lot of Bulldogs games, but I saw enough, and I didn't think he was.
I think he got
How
a
did
lot of them
Ollie
pretty early
Wines
on,
get in
though.
the top 10? Ollie Wines.
Well, I thought, didn't Ollie Wines start like a house on fire too?
I thought he started well, yeah.
And, you know, you just got to beat up on bottom 10 teams to get your votes.
Well,
That
how did
was a big-
Pendlebury get any? We don't beat bottom 10 teams.
A lot of votes were on reputation this season.
As they always are.
And then players like Matt Crouch, who probably deserved more votes, don't
Yeah,
get
that
them
was
because
a big one.
Chris Sloan
Yeah.
gets them for no reason.
Who hasn't gone?
I haven't, and I've got Goo for the Perth Stadium or the Enormo Dome or whatever they're going to call it for selecting Gage Roads as the beer provider for the stadium. That's a really good move. Gage Roads is a fine drop, and for
Have they got a
once,
bridge yet?
no.
What about Emu Export?
Well, see, that's all that matters. As long as they've got a beer on tap, you can't fucking get to the ground, but there's a
You do
beer
Ben
ready.
Cousins swim. You get shit-faced and then you swim
Well,
home.
I honestly think because Perth on the Swan River from Perth to South Perth, even though that's the opposite direction, had ferries So why don't they just do that the other way, like the eastward? Like it makes too much sense for them to do it, I guess. But
Well, judging by what you just told us, you just end up with some booze cruises.
is that a bad thing?
Well, Juddy's gone, so I guess not so much. You're not going to handcuff anyone. Juddy.
If you're going to say his name, say it like that, please.
Daddy.
I hope he writes a song about this, Grandpa.
Jimmy Hurd gave the Norm Smith.
And here comes Richo.
No, Dustin Martin used a chopstick, but wasn't as bad as when he kicked across goal. Since you mentioned the new Perth Stadium, really, really quickly, did we see who got the first game there?
Yep. AFLW, I think Freo.
Well, West Coast don't have an awful team next year, so Freo's awful team playing the first game. That sounds a little bit odd that you got a 60,000 seat stadium. I thought the AFL was all about maximising crowds for that.
And they're selling tickets for $2 a ticket or something.
And the only team worse than Freo is Freo's women's team.
It's just like...
I honestly think they're obviously going to play Collingwood too. They're going to try.
But there's going to be no fucking bridge.
I know.
AFLW.
Of course.
No bridge.
They've got to bring the cash cow over somehow. Add that to the fucking kilometres travelled.
Oh, come on. I don't understand why they didn't have something like a special state of origin game like they did for the MCG a few years back. Like you could play WA versus Victoria or whatever.
Australia or
Clubs
something.
never go for that.
You know, you could call it fucking the Secession Cup or something like that. And fucking
If WA win, they get to secede. Is that what you're saying?
well, yeah, or the GST Revenue Cup. And they get a bigger carve out of the GST revenue or something.
You've sold me. I would pay to watch that. Yeah.
I think there was a really bad... The smartest idea they could have done was get West Coast versus Geelong, call it the Mefo Cup, and we're away.
Yeah, because Burswood, there's heaps of hookers around Burswood too, so that's all good.
Could have invited St Kilda.
Well,
Have the
can they
Hooker
swim?
Cup.
That's what I want to know. Can the hookers swim?
No, but they're in Burswood already. They're already over the lake, the river, or whatever they call it.
Well, they might not be able to swim, but they've got fish nets.
Anyway, I think that's all of it. Let's go to the recaps, and we'll begin with Geelong and the Crowbots.
For a prelim, this game sucked. I mean, two-man team is not good enough.
No, and they got found out against a real team, and they even had Motlop play fairly well, and they were shit. Like it's.
Oh, they were so shit.
Pushing that
They were
contract value
so
up.
shit. It didn't help that they didn't have Hawkins playing.
No, they missed his presence out there, because that seems to be all he brings these days.
It was a shit game.
It wasn't a shit game, it was just Geelong were not up to the standard again at prelim week.
I think it's where they're at.
Yeah, I agree.
They were just beat by a better side. It happens.
Yeah, but I think we found out that they're that far off it. I think two of their losses this final series have shown that. Prelims their limit. They're the new Bulldogs, or Norf, or whoever you want to talk about. Got to prelims in the last decade or so and never went one step further.
It's all under Selwood's leadership too.
Yeah, and he actually played well on one leg. He couldn't have done much more for them.
They're kind of like a more extreme version of St Kilda in 09.
Nah, you were better than
Players
that.
No, but okay.
Yeah, but still, good players were good, but the bottom tier,
True.
there are a whole bunch of Robert Eddies and Andrew McCalters.
They've got Dangerfield, they've got Selwood, they've got Duncan, who's probably been their three consistent players. I mean, Scott Selwood's been decent at times over the year, but
Menegola?
they have
Menegola.
Who?
I like Meningola. I like the story, but their middle six and bottom six is probably worse than most teams' middle six and bottom six. It's just their top six is reasonable. Particularly their top two are probably two of the better players in the league.
They're a two-man team, and the rest of them aren't that good. Even Cockatoo couldn't give them much. They brought him in for a bit of extra talent boost, but long way to go, and they don't have a first rounder this year, and they're going to probably trade the one after that or something else to try and bring in Gazza or Stringer or Devons. I don't know how they think they're going to get these players.
But they're linked to all of them, and that's just, it's insane.
Yeah. It's nice to be a club that has all these players. On
All these players want to come to Geelong and can't get there. Norf have all this money and all these resources to throw at players and they can't land anyone.
Oh, go fuck yourselves, people.
It wasn't even us who said it first. It was Dan.
No, that's the problem.
It was me. It's just
There was
what's true,
There was
though.
an
It's not-
article.
It is
I
true.
can't
That's
remember.
why it's good.
There was an article yesterday that was like, I don't know, where Motlop might be going or where someone else might be going. It was like, these two clubs are interested, and it was, no, Essendon and North Melbourne. And then it was this player, and these two clubs are interested in it. And this one, whatever club, and North Melbourne. It was like 5 players, and North Melbourne were interested in all of them because they've got to fucking pay someone.
Jesus.
Oh, fucking kill me now. Oh, my word. Oh. Well, why? We're not that bad a club, are we?
Well, no, we
Um,
didn't think so, but I guess.
Well,
You're
I mean,
at the start of the rebuild, and that's a hard thing to sell.
And start of probably
Yeah,
a
but-
pretty long rebuild too, considering the way
With
you
Brad
topped up.
Scott as your coach.
Yeah, don't get me started on that.
something stinks. I said this last week or 2 weeks ago.
In the state of Denmark or
To
whatever.
be, to be fair though, this is where North are now is probably where Geelong will be in 4 or 5 years' time if they don't
Well,
change
they'll
They'll
still-
something
they
drastically.
will still have people come to their club, though. This is, I think it
Well,
comes down to
you
whether
probably thought that too until they all retired.
it probably comes
But
down
I
to
don't get, like, I
recent
mean-
success. If you're a club that's viewed as a successful and respected organisation, then you'll attract people to your club. But I mean,
I'm
Yeah.
happy for you guys to correct my view because obviously my view is going to be skewed no matter how much I try not to skew it. But from my point of view, it's not like we're a entitled club. It's not like we're a club that tanks or does anything wrong like that wrong. I just think we're sort of in the middle somewhere.
How does
and-
tanking make you entitled though?
No. I'm saying there are some clubs that are entitled. There are some clubs that tank. There are some clubs that do this. There's some clubs that do that. For whatever reason, a lot of people call us irrelevant because we are probably a little bit vanilla.
What you're describing sounds awfully like St Kilda and being too nice.
Well,
And
that's
inoffensive.
that's probably where I'm coming from. Like, because I actually see a lot of North leading up to 2013, 14, 15 in St Kilda actually, because I think that they're very similar in as much as that they don't have that out-and-out superstar. They don't have that out-and-out X factor. They've got a lot of good players, but not that match winner that you can turn it on and change the game in 15 minutes.
Congrats,
They-
Cookie.
they-
This is what
so
you got
Kil-
to look forward to.
You definitely
Yeah,
have too
we
many
got
vanilla
Greg
players named
Billings.
Jack.
Well, there's no such thing as enough Jacks, let's be honest.
No, and I'm not having a go at the Saints, but
Except
I
Gimp
just see...
Face.
Look,
Who's Gimp Face?
Loney can go and get fucked. He's a dirty little shit.
Fuck him off. Whoever Loney is, I thought he retired 10 years ago.
No, that's the most courageous player, Ryan Looney.
But, I do see this. I actually do see that similarity with St Kilda because I think that, like, say, Richmond, you've got your Dustin Martin, who is a proven match winner. You even Carlton had...
We had to move on because we don't have any proven match winners.
so are you taking your aim at the recruiters at the club then, the Grille? Have they
Oh,
not
well,
picked up?
in the situation we were in the early to, or basically throughout 2000s where we couldn't really spend a prolonged period of time at the bottom developing players, having to recruit to basically get us on the cusp of the 8 or just over.
That was the Laidley years. He fucked us.
Yeah. No, but
Yeah.
I think, to be honest, I don't think he fucked us. It was in this... It
Why are you
was...
spending so much time talking about
required
Norf?
situation.
Take,
I don't know. He
take
kept
the
trying
Sonic
to
Do
podcast.
this. How do
He
you
was
do
a genius that wanted
wizardry?
to trade with Hawthorn and get all these retarded
Saddest.
players sad players at the club. And we had to give up
Dean
all of
Laidley,
our...
Dean Laidley did not recruit Jed Anderson.
Just speaking of
Let's
players
suppose-
named Loney, I'm pretty sure he managed to offload one of the Lonies for a first-round pick that ended up being Grant Birchall. So thanks, Port.
Can someone tell me when Aaron Mullett goes to Collingwood?
I honestly
never.
think that will happen.
Thank you, LeGrill.
He got delisted, didn't he?
Well, no, he's been asked to basically get his management to look elsewhere. It's one of those ones where they're going to try to trade him, but they played their hand way too early, and now he's going to be basically a free agent.
Just on that, Morgs, are you going to start a campaign next year to make him the player sponsor target?
Yes, that's what I'll do. That's what I'll do. Oh, imagine if I get to sit next to him at something.
Just imagine if you work up a frenzy on the Collingwood board to sponsor him. All the cunts who won't want it are going to be they're going to be fuming with you again.
No, because they this is what they did with Aish. Like, support the new guy. I'll be like, come on, guys, support the new guy.
Lol Norf.
I want to go to, like, the season launch and sit next to him at the table and get blind and tell him I was a North member for him and... You know, all
Well,
real
that's
North
coming off of
stuff.
Sitting next to you going, what am I, chopped liver?
Who'd have thought Aaron would be on the other end of some creepiness? Can we just get back to Geelong and the Crows, please? Paul Seedsman stepped it up big time on the big stage. How good was he?
Was very good.
Yeah, it's like... Morgs, how do you feel about the fact that he's at Adelaide now and Braden Maynard's at Collingwood?
I don't really care.
But you're softening on Maynard because he threw a couple of good performances.
Played all right when he played in the midfield, I'll be honest.
I think that was just Pendlebury. They look the same.
No, Pendlebury wasn't playing then. He does look like one of the shitter Pendleburys, which is...
Is that why maybe you don't like him and you were sort of like a bit biased?
Oh, I don't like him because, like Pendlebury, he can't fucking defend.
You can get Brownlow votes, huh?
And you want Aaron Mullet?
Well,
Oh,
just
he
really
looks-
to look at, I think, by the sound of things.
Need some eye
We've got to have someone to
They
solve.
got Pendlebury, who looks sort of like... Well, he had white man dreads.
No,
He's engaged too, by the way.
he's so vanilla, boring, yuck. Ugh.
At least he's not as boring as Bontempelli. That's
Oh no,
positive.
Bontempelli has a nose you could ski jump off.
No, but Bontempelli's not vanilla. He's like, you know, if shit was an ice cream flavour.
He's like a Magnum, the most overrated crap ice cream in the world that you don't want.
Can we all take a second to just imagine if Daisy Pearce and Bontempelli had kids, and just that nose forehead combination.
But
That would be the biggest head you've ever seen. Bigger than Brad Ebert or Brett Ebert or whichever one it was that's retired.
Oh, fuck.
Let's go then, if we've got nothing on that, to Richmond versus the Giants. We didn't even come up with a name for this, I think, but 1,200 Giants supporters bought tickets in a crowd of 94,000, which was the perfect
It was the most
storm.
one-sided crowd seen in VFL AFL history, I think.
And
At least
it was
for
unprecedented,
a
like Clayton
time.
Oliver. We'll probably never see it again, unless someone else huge gets the Giants in a game that matters like that.
Which could very well happen.
Well, it could, but I think even the hunger for that would not be... I think even if Collingwood did it, they've had enough success in recent years that it might not be as
I reckon
feverish.
Essendon. I reckon if Essendon had it,
Essendon probably, yeah. But it'd be... Yeah,
don't know.
it was something
Carlton
else, though.
would
It
be
was a
too busy
very
making
interesting
anything.
experience.
It was a good game to watch for like pretty much the first 2.5 quarters before Richmond.
oh yeah.
Jonas did a better time. Like, it was hard footy. I mean, people saying what Cochin did was wrong. Bullshit. He was going for the ball. Unlucky
Thank
for
you.
Shield.
he was
That's
no.
You're
No.
joking, right?
If you're going for the ball, your hands should be out.
Yeah, and
You're
his
not
fucking
tucking
hand,
your
his
arms.
fucking other hand
His
was.
was, yeah.
No, his arm was tucked in. Dylan Shield tweeted the photo today with a confused face.
Oh, what a sook.
And then he deleted it.
I think the right decision overall was made, but I think the process
It wasn't
was
even
complete.
finable.
You would hate to see a play get rubbed out for that if you were just taking it on face value. But
Oh, no,
With the
you
rules-
wouldn't hate to see that if you were Dylan Shield.
Oh, boo-hoo. Murphy
but,
had his
like,
jaw broken by a good
I
bloke.
do think
Or who's
As soon-
injury trolling now?
Yeah, like that was the first thing I thought of was Hodge on Murphy a couple years ago, and that was exactly the same. Two players going for the ball. One was just a little harder at it than the other, and unfortunately it's a contact sport and injuries do happen
There's-
occasionally. I'm
yeah. And what I'm
perfectly
getting at
okay
is,
with
I
Cochin
think it
getting
was
on.
If
incidental
Cochin goes
contact.
lower, he takes his legs free kick. If he goes higher, he gets 3 weeks. If he goes front on, he gets him high, he gets 3 weeks. If he goes from behind, he gets him in the back.
No,
If
No,
he
I
puts his
think he
hands
chose
out,
to
he
bump.
gets the ball.
I think he chose to bump. I don't think he obviously intended to knock the bloke out.
Oh, he
But
didn't choose
the
to bump.
rule is
That doesn't
stated-
matter. He chose to bump.
He didn't choose to bump. He won the football. His hands end up on the football.
Bump. He didn't win the football.
Yeah,
Until
but
he already hit it.
Of course he has to brace the bump. He's going to make contact.
Concussed. The rule has been for years and years and years now that if you go to bump and someone gets knocked out, that is on the person doing the bumping.
They couldn't even confirm that it was even that concussed him because Asprey bowls him over later in the quarter after he played 10 more minutes.
I reckon that was very conveniently used as an excuse to get him off, but at the same time, I'm glad Cooksen got off.
No one can actually say what else he's meant to do in that situation when he actually wins the ball.
But that's not the point. Because
he doesn't choose to bump.
Players, but there's been players, like, you could argue that was the same thing for Grundy or for...
No, but Grundy didn't tackle him properly. It's pretty simple.
For Jared Waite or for Dangerfield.
Dangerfield's the same situation too. If you want to pin their arms, don't slam them into the ground. If you want to slam him in the ground, leave an arm free like Trelaw did or whoever it was when Zeeble did.
Dangerfield is clearly a thug and an unfair player, so he should have been suspended. And Grille's just trying to make it about Norf again.
I'm just going to say that
Jared Waite.
I honestly thought Shield stuffed his shoulder up. He didn't get. That was a harsh tackle. He pinned
and also
arms,
when you notice where the contact gets
but
made,
there are tackles that got free kicks for the person doing the tackling, and so obviously within the rules of the game. No, but within the rules of the game, that they're all 100%. They're all 100% legal within the rules of the game. However, when it comes to this inadequate,
no one can actually say what Cooksen's meant to do in that situation. He won the ball, and the contact wasn't even.
What was Kobe Stevens meant to do? He's gone to tackle of a guy that's 80-odd kilo.
You got to tackle safely. It's
you just
how it is.
Don't pin the arms. If you don't pin both arms, you're sweet with the tackle. It's pretty simple.
Honestly, like the AFL kind of hoodwinked themselves a bit with this fine and 3 strikes rule. Like if they'd rubbed Cooksen out earlier in the year for the kneel hit, then he wouldn't have been on 2 strikes, and they could have just given him a fine, and they would have brushed it off.
But it is finable.
It's not finable. It's not illegal.
There wouldn't have
been.
You're
tucking your preferred arm in, and you're going in. Then
there wouldn't have been as much controversy if they just fined him.
He didn't go to bump. He went to win the ball.
I've got the good angle. I've got the good angle on YouTube.
Arm tucked in.
Here's what I see. I see Cooksen trying to dive for the ball. Shield gets it first, unlucky. He jars the elbow, and the tip of his back...
His back makes contact with the chin.
With the head.
He goes underneath.
He went lower. Cooksen went lower than
which you're told to do. Don't go high.
Yeah, that's why the closest example to a precedent I can think of is that Hodge Murphy hit a couple of years ago.
The Hodge Murphy one. Not every time a player gets injured in a physical contest does there need to be a suspension.
Yeah. And it's like, was it...
Brandon Ellis is the one who's lucky. Brandon Ellis is
that should have been... I'm surprised they didn't fine him, because like you could give him a fine and say, look, this was bad.
I'm surprised he wasn't suspended, to be truthful.
But still let him play.
You could tell this week, though, the media were looking for a story to play up from the minute John Ralph tried to hang Rory Sloane on the Dangerfield thing on Friday night, which was ridiculous.
I honestly think the media were pretty sympathetic towards Cooksen overall.
There were plenty of them who wanted to suspend him. Seemingly every one of them who didn't play football. Surprise, surprise.
No,
except
Eddie was the most vocal case for the defence on.
Yeah, I just noticed Robbo and Ralph.
What I'm getting at is that it is a further evidence that the grading system is inadequate for this sport.
Oh, yeah, we all know that.
The grading system exists because they used to fuck it up when they didn't have a grading system, but now it's like they can't decide on. It's ridiculous.
Worse because they're arbitrarily applying it.
I know, but it used to work all right. In the initial
look, at the
stages,
end of the day, we all fuss about the mechanics of the grading system, but at the end of the day, we've got the grand final coming up, and all of Cooksen, Ellis, and Sloane are going to play in the grand final, which I think's the right call. It's just that the only thing is maybe Ellis should have gotten fine or something. So, like, who the fuck cares? I mean, really,
it's not a Barry Hall thing.
It's not, but at the same time. Certainly, I thought Ellis was very lucky because he actually, unlike Cooksen, he chose to bump him and he collected him high. And if Whitfield got concussed too, Ellis would definitely be gone.
Yeah, so I thought that would have been a slam dunk, high contact, low impact thing because he wasn't concussed, and you just call it a fine and move on.
Yeah, it's just because someone gets injured doesn't mean that they should be suspended if the act itself isn't illegal. And Hodge, Murphy, Koch and Shield, there's probably plenty of others we can think of. It's just that people get enraged because Dangerfield gets suspended for a sling tackle that concusses, or fucking Jack Redpath gets 3 weeks for a tummy tap, which was ridiculous as well.
But I suppose what I'm saying is, like, I like the fact that the MRP review the plays and can offer suspensions, but you can't shoehorn something that's a 360-degree game with, like, completely different possibilities and an oval-shaped ball.
But
five categories
that's where
to
where the appeals process exists. So you've got the tribunal for when the
But
MRP gets
the
it wrong,
way-
and then if you've got the tribunal gets it wrong, then it can go further, like it
But
did with
rightly
Jack
or
Viney.
wrongly,
Which,
but
once
rightly
again,
or
was a fuck up.
wrongly, the appeals board is still based on that, because a lot of clubs did not take that case to the tribunal because they're fearing that under those categories, they have no case to defend themselves with. Rightly or wrongly, they see it as risking an extra week, which is kind of backward.
Maybe so,
anyway.
but I think if clubs were to argue it, as was done with the Jack Viney case, where they were in a situation where they were able to argue it because the best defence the AFL could come up with was he should have pirouetted out of the way, which I think if players wanted, like within the grading system, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, if there's a way you don't do anything wrong, you can sort of, that's outside the spirit of the game, you can argue it, but the problem is a lot of those players do slightly dumb things.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, like originally, like someone was suspended if they transgressed the rules, whereas now a lot of people are getting suspended for an accident, which in this kind of game, you're not going to stop.
I'd say they're suspending for avoidable accidents in a bid to change behaviours, though.
Can we just agree on one thing, though, and that's that Patrick Dangerfield is an absolute thug and deserves to be rubbed out.
I have not seen a bigger thug since Lee Matthews.
And Dangerfield should have gone for that Sloan hit as well. Like, poor Rory was just unprotected, wide open, and Paddy
gets
just slammed
sniped.
it up straight up the front.
Good thing it backfired for him.
That's the only thing the MRP got wrong this week, I think.
Anything else out of the Richmond Giants game?
Oh,
Cochin should have got 6 weeks.
no, who's Steve Johnson? He was one of Richmond's best.
I
That
knew
was-
as soon as he marked it at the ground that he was not going to get the journey on that kick, and sure enough, he gave it off and it got kicked down the full by, I think, Wilson, who didn't have a great game. And then he coughed the other one up. And
Harrison
trying to be-
Himmel.
Yeah, it was that, like, tries to kick it to the top of the square and ends up kicking it about 15 metres straight to a Richmond player.
It was a look-away kick, Stevie. You could do those 3 years ago. You can't anymore.
Know your limits.
I've got another one. His little tap to Rance. It was a cheap shot, and he is a fucking idiot for doing it. Like, it was just the absolute epitome of a man who is playing his last game. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe not so much as
Matthew
Alistair
Lloyd.
Lynch or Alistair Lynch or something, but yeah, it was a bit...
He should have gotten a week for stupidity, but unfortunately that's not a grading.
He still wasn't even their worst. Like, fucking Toby Green was crap.
Rory Lobb was shit.
He still gave more than Shane Mumford ever would have, so...
Patton was pretty decent, but he had a bad terminal
that
quarter
play
time.
on. That was such a momentum changer.
I'm thinking when that play's happening, it's going to be the most Richmond thing if they concede here. And
Yeah.
lo and behold, it's in Patton. I'm going, oh, fuck, I'm right. I predicted something. Then he fucks it up.
So who cops the blame for that? Obviously, Patton should have had some awareness of the clock, but if the runner hasn't got out to him, then I guess he doesn't.
Well,
But
frankly...
at the
for
same
a-
time, Green is surging forward and presumably calling for the ball, so
But, I mean,
surely
you know,
he cops the blame as well.
for the fact that Nick Maxwell is perennially on the ground, he should have done a better job at telling how long...
Well, he couldn't have because he
Al-
never comes back to
Well-
the bench to get a time update.
Well, no,
I'm
they have that Tissot thing that says how long in the game along the
I don't
side
think
ball.
they had that for the first quarter. But either way, I still think it's on Patton. He marks it, 35 out, slight angle.
Great shot, mate. Although apparently his quip work was quite good. Apparently he copped a bit from the Richmond Peanut Gallery and decided to say, well, yeah, you're a loser, mate. You're on the other side of the fence.
I'd say that's like the easiest comeback ever. That's like look at the scoreboard when you
Yeah, wouldn't it?
when you're
But
winning.
come back when you've lost the game or you're going to lose the game. I can guarantee you that supporter thinks he won the battle because his team won.
Not every supporter can fucking break a person's spirit like Starburns.
Fuck off.
Is this the Reece Shaw
Yeah.
situation?
Yes, this is Reece Shaw. Reece came back from that and won a premiership, okay?
Speaking of the Shaw
Hey,
brothers, I
Palmer's
think
gonna get you-
Heath had a bit of a stinker out there as well.
GWS's senior players, really, apart from Callum Ward, were pretty ordinary.
Callan Ward doesn't get nearly enough credit for how good he's been.
If it was still in Victoria, he would. Well, I honestly
Oh,
think it
considering
would
the
be.
bathwater goo.
Oh, mate, he would have got fucking 28 fucking votes last night.
Well, no, actually, he'd probably be dead because Steve-O would be just camped outside his house every fucking day of the week and would have hung himself out of...
Steve-O would be dead because he can't wank that many times a day.
Have you looked at him? I reckon he'd give it a bloody good shake.
Oh, I know that it's not possible because Trade Draft broke the record when he went to Noosa. And if you've never read that thread, go and do yourself a favour.
No, I might not.
What thread is this? I need to see.
I need it.
Trade Draft's annual Noosa trips consist of wanking and going to the supermarket.
Does he actually
That'll be-
reveal that? Does he reveal that?
That's probably his routine in Victoria.
What do you mean? Does he read? If you not read these threads, oh
No.
my god, you idiots! Go and find the original "I'm going to Noosa" thread.
Is Noosa full of, like, pregnant women or something?
Nah, this guy went to the shop, seen this girl, came back, had a wank. Noosa.
Since we're talking about Callum Ward, did anyone see that he missed the flight home because he couldn't piss in time in a cup for the drug testers?
Oh, really? That's terrible. My cousin had that happen when he was playing VFL, and they played a game in Launceston, and he got drug tested after the game, and he couldn't go. He got stuck waiting for him to leave for like 4 hours.
Ward's on Mad Monday. Surely he'd go through a few beers at least, and that should quicken things up, you'd think.
When the player is assumingly having to urinate, is the drug guy like constantly out the door?
No, he's not at the door, he's staring at it.
No, he's watching you take the piss.
That's got to be
He's
hard
holding
to
it.
do for a
He's
player.
Stage fright probably plays a role. Can you imagine poor Nicky Dell doing that?
Oh, poor Nicky
Yeah.
Dell.
Because if the guy's not watching or the girl's not watching, then you could just change your urine with
Well,
something
that-
else
that's why
or
they
apple
watch-
juice.
that's
or-
why
That's
they
right,
watch
yeah.
it.
You could have like a cup of clean piss in the cistern and you could just get out and... Why is it wet? Oh, sorry, I couldn't fit it all in.
Well, AFL players could probably get away saying, "Oh, my accuracy's a bit shit."
Has anyone actually pissed in a cup though? It's very difficult not to get the cup wet or your
No, you
hand.
sound like you have plenty of experience. Why don't you share with us?
Well, I've had to
You
piss.
are.
I've had to piss in a cup before. It's
Yeah,
very,
you are.
it's very hard
You
to
get-
prevent it splashing all over the place. You get it all over your hands, and it's just like you try not to, but you do anyway because your hand has to hold the fucking cup.
You got to do it like Austin Powers. He's like a sprinkler. He's just you know those scenes where he's next to the water statue and he's
Yeah.
pissing.
Oh, I thought
asparagus.
you meant the scene where he's in the tent and Mini-Me's spitting water everywhere and it looks like he's got a big problem.
all that. Yeah.
But no, like it can be a messy situation.
How do you do? You
Get
hold
a-
the cup hand and then aim in the other, or do you put the cup on like the toilet seat and you just try and?
I don't know how you meant to do it, but the way I did it was you put it in the cup, basically, but then eventually it starts to, once you start to fill it up a little bit, you try and stop, and you hope that hasn't splashed everywhere.
I think AFL players should try and go along the trade draft route. Just tug one out.
They don't want a semen sample cookie. Mate, only at St Kilda do they need one of those. Or the paternity test.
I don't understand why they don't just like make it mandatory to do the drug test for the P test for everyone. Like, because you go on site in the mines and it's mandatory for everyone to
general?
do the test every day. So just do that.
Anything else on the P test?
If you're on, say, antidepressants, would you fail a drug test in the AFL, or would that be sort of,
I
yeah,
think
okay,
if
we'll
you're on
let you go?
antidepressants,
Wouldn't that
you
depend on
discuss
what's
that
in the
with
tablets?
AFL.
You'd probably
I
have to
think if
get it cleared.
Yeah.
If you're on antidepressants in the AFL, you'd fail getting traded to Norf.
No, it would get traded to North.
No,
No,
they,
you
they,
would
they,
get
don't, they don't
traded.
take them when they're on medication.
Yeah, they need him to be a complete train wreck, unmedicated.
Seriously, fuck all your Like, seriously.
Yeah, stop
Sounds
making fun of
sad
my
as
club.
fuck.
Okay, I think we've said enough about the piss testing. Anything out of the Brownlow?
I mean, Bruce was just, just a little bit creepy. I mean, I could barely tell at times, but I thought
Can
it was
anyone
quite
say they're
okay.
surprised though?
Okay, like, he's been ill, so I'm reluctant to make this comment because it may not have been on purpose, but did anyone notice in the last section when he's next to Daisy Pierce, he kept moving into the side and effectively making contact with her? This was in the very late wrap-up.
Was this in the bit where, like, a few people had a shot at her for not being very good
No, that
at
was-
presenting?
No, that was the whole night. And every time she's been on
She did
TV.
have her hair in an interesting way, though, I think to cover up the 5
The bad thing is when the night started, earlier on in the night, she was always shown side on with her hair covering the forehead. But then eventually as the night wore on, she started tilting angles and it's looking directly at the camera and fuck me, man. That forehead. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's literally... I just want to measure her face, like the area of her face, and just find out
Phrenology.
what... Yes, I need to know what percentage is forehead.
You have the makeup of a stagecoach, Smithers.
Isn't that the episode of The Simpsons where, like, Lisa's really good at gymnastics because she's got this head that just automatically balances her everywhere?
I'm just going to say, all the presenters in the Brownlow were shit, though. I mean...
Was it just me, or were all the presenters in the interview subjects, and this is not even including Dusty at the end, were all of them not awkward as fuck this year? The interviews?
They were.
It was just like, there were some
Everything-
really
Yeah,
uncomfortable
like-
ones.
Like the least awkward presenters of the night were the bloody Auskick kids.
But honestly, Chris Judd was more comfortable when Brendan Favola was pissed as a new years ago than any of the people who were probably stone cold sober last night.
My favourite one was actually the Danaher's Mark of the Year interview with Bontempelli and Darcy Vesio. Was, I think, a genuine... Like, Dusty actually diffused his interview reasonably well with a couple of bits of humour. So the other one was... That was probably mine for the most awkward
But
moment of the
ultimately-
night.
Yeah, the most
Like,
cringeworthy.
It was so cringy.
Like, it was made much more uncomfortable by the fact that nobody clapped when he won the award. And that everyone kind of gasped and thought, and was like looking around. Nobody celebrated it. And the two dickheads on stage were kind of just like, well done, Joe.
You're putting
Darcy Vesio had some cringy line to say about hitting the roof or something, and it was just like, oh.
But I mean, to be honest, like, they've been put in a fucking shit situation.
they've been given a terrible job to do, but it's just like everything about this year was just so.
Surely.
Players'
Can
personality.
we just say that the bullshit fucking Danaher winning the award instead of Howe was just another chapter in the bullshit Essendon comeback narrative?
But it was
Right.
it was
I've
voted
got to
on.
give him all the
And
awards.
the voting on shit is just, it's ridiculous in itself.
Yeah, but the award was rigged. See, I can be a Geelong supporter too.
The
See,
thing is,
the issue was, well, like, two Collingwood players had marks in the thing, and our supporters are dumb, so they probably clicked on the first one instead of clicking on how. But it's so easy to manipulate. Oh, it's a crowd thing. It's a crowd thing. They're just trying to control the narrative completely.
it's like
I would say it's time to move it back to a panel, but even then they fucked it up with Cracker over Walker. So it's just like, how do we keep coming back to this? And I'll admit, Eddie Betts' goal was better than Rioli's probably.
Oh, but they were pretty close.
They
You
were
know, I think
close,
the
but I
Rioli
thought
one,
Eddie's was
yeah.
better. I thought Buddy's was the least purely because of the fumble on the bounce.
And the fact that he ran like 50 metres without
Yeah,
bouncing.
if Cale Hooker was chasing him this time, he would have been done holding the ball before he got to 50 metres. But it was just that Talia wasn't fast enough.
But Danaher's mark wasn't even the second best.
No, Grundy's was
No.
better. I think there was a case for Grundy's being
Koopalo's
better
was
than
better.
ours, but I won't go there.
No, I could hear that.
But certainly Danaher's wasn't better than either, no.
how is probably he probably should have won a lot more Mark of the Years than he should have. Like,
He's only
out
won
of
one, and that
players-
was, I think, the Melbourne one when he jumped on the
Yeah.
Sydney players' shoulders.
Yeah.
And all
But
the
I'm
Mel
actually
Butler
glad
that's
that-
come out since is just hilarious. Ha ha ha. Cover your anuses, they're bleeding.
But I like that he reacted and went, what the fuck? Because
Yeah, well, it was
Too
what the
often.
fuck. It was a pretty ordinary night. Like, just about the
That's
only
what
thing
we
that
should
wasn't
see.
rigged
We
was
should
the actual
see these
votes in
players
round 22.
caring.
yeah, absolutely.
We should see these players caring about these medals and these situations because that's why we're watching them.
If you're going to have players presenting, get ones who are actually charismatic and
Yeah,
you would actually want to drink with.
I think they get sterilized badly by what they're meant to say. There's like, why did every round need some fan to introduce it?
I don't remember Channel 7 being this shithouse
This was
before.
the worst coverage ever of it.
No. But with football in general, like football coverage in general,
They weren't.
since they got it back from 9 and 10, they were the premier sort of...
Yeah, they were fantastic till they lost it.
Yeah, and now they've just absolutely fucking shat the bed.
It's like they realized that it's somewhere along there it became like it's almost like they enjoyed doing it and it was something that was intrinsic to their network and they did it right and they made sure they made an effort. Sort of like Nine with the cricket before Richie got too old. And Nine's gone that way too with the cricket. They stopped giving a fuck even though they never lost it. But it's just like somewhere along the way they stopped caring about what it was.
You get complacent. Like you think you're not going to lose it because they've got this success. Like 9 with the cricket and 7 have got the footy secured for a long time now, and so they're complacent and thinking, "Oh, we're not going to lose it."
They think
So-
people
But I mean,
want to hear
like-
Basil. They think people want that sort of cringeworthy
And BT.
jokes.
Like, I mean, I can understand BT, being an option.
Hang on, how was roaming Brian at the Brownlow?
I actually...
I mean, that was
did Ross
probably
Lyon
the
look like he
least-
wanted to kill him when he interrupted that chat with Ken Hinkley? It was like fucking fed into darting eyes, just like, what the fuck do you think you're doing?
I want...
That was probably still the least cringeworthy moment of the night.
I mean,
They made so many jokes about Favola as well, about how drunk he got. It's
Yeah,
like,
even though no
better
one's allowed to
behave
get that
yourself.
drunk.
Yeah.
fucking cockhead. Like, has anyone ever been drunk in a place that they shouldn't have been drunk?
Yeah.
I would put it to
Um,
a man or a woman that everybody has. Fucking hell. Like, it's just so...
Wait, what do you mean
crap.
by a place
I-
you shouldn't have been drunk? I think it's acceptable you're drunk in a lot of places.
Well, no, but I mean,
Not
obviously, not if you're presenting on the TV. But the fact is he was. And
Yeah, well, that
fucking
was the
your
footy show's
minor
fault
judge.
for giving him a microphone at an event where they didn't need to. So I blame the footy show. They ruin
No,
everything.
they didn't need to put it on TV.
Yeah, that's
it
true
wasn't
too.
live.
Yeah, that's true
was
as well.
They teed off on it. They knew what they were doing.
They had a week and they destroyed that man.
Good. Yeah, I pay that as well.
Where
They
is their
should
duty
have
of
done it.
care to the person they employ?
I mean, the motherfucker had to move to Brisbane for fuck's sake.
Yeah, what sort of punishment's that? Like, fucking hell.
That
don't wish.
humidity,
Got coached by Vossi.
obviously now, pretty much the Brownlow is for the wives and the girlfriends, like it or not. Like,
Well, and the coach's daughters, by the sound of it.
yeah, well,
and for the players that take their teammates who don't get invited, like Sam Lloyd and Jack Fitzpatrick.
Jack Fitzpatrick was a great invite. Yeah, he was just like, he was there for the free piss so badly.
But no, but I mean, like I mean, you could
And
argue
Mo
whether-
Hope, who took a girlfriend who's a solid 8.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
so-
noticed that. She's
Yeah.
batting well above her average. But how's she even getting an invite? That's like literally inviting Jack Fitzpatrick to the awful one.
Yeah, but I mean, but at the same time, like,
But it's-
they
Mona
could
Hope
obviously-
wouldn't even get an
yes.
invite to the women's Brownlow night, let alone the men's
That
one.
was the joke I made. That's like
What?
inviting Jack Fitzpatrick.
Oh, sorry.
That's the joke.
Jose, why don't you spell it out?
Anything else out of what the Brownlow was? I think the highlight was Dane Swan's live tweets on the Sportsbet account, if anyone caught those.
But okay,
Fucking
like,
hell.
Without doubt, best part of the night.
I
think-
would pay to see Swanee host the Brownlow. That would be entertaining.
Oh, well, just, you say that it's pretty vanilla now. Just wait till Dusty's retired and him and Swanee are there as ex-Brownlow medalists.
see, no,
That'll
no,
be...
look,
and, like, the AFL can't
if you
not
want
invite
true,
them.
but even if Channel 7 want to go with this blokey coverage, I would sooner Dusty and Dane Swan do the commentary than Brian Taylor and anyone.
But
You would-
Dusty
you
doesn't
would
speak.
legitimately
What would he be, like the
lose.
boundary rider? It's like, how's the atmosphere down there, Dusty? Good.
But that's all
Why
you
use-
need.
Why
Like-
use 20 words when good will do?
Dermot
Exactly.
Burton, take note.
Could you imagine how refreshing that would be?
He
Oh,
doesn't
what
wear
about
right
Clay?
with his words.
What
Put a
about
carton
Clayton
on for Swanee in the box, and you'll get some of the loosest commentary that you ever...
A carton won't be enough.
Do we have much else out of the Brownlow? Anything else on Bruce creeping?
No, I
Oh.
got bored of the long sleeve dresses after
One-
a while.
You can't say you're
well-
surprised by it.
No.
Exactly, yeah.
Have we spoken about the most important award of the year, which is, of course, the AFL-CA Coach of the Year?
Oh, no, I wanted to say congratulations to Ruffy, who's having a baby.
Good for
great.
Ruffy.
And congratulations, Wayne Carey, having a baby as well.
Yes.
Oh, was it a
as-
boy? Was it a boy?
He's having a baby with a Carlton player.
Good
They're
old
sharing.
Camden Cuck.
it's,
It doesn't matter because that kid will just deny Norf just like every other player that's been.
Andrew Swallow's
Rejected by fathers, though.
a new dad too.
like
There you
that.
Oh, one of those.
We don't want another.
Oh, Jesus freak.
Well, that means at least Swallow won't wear a condom,
Okay.
so it's might as well stop.
Before we finish on the Brownlow, can we just mention not Cookie?
Oh, no.
Roaming, not
Alright.
Cookie.
I'm more annoyed about the fact that Basil's and Parlors took the piss out of him than anything else. I mean, fuck you, Basil.
You don't need Basil scoring points off you.
No, I don't think Basil did score points on him, so I think it's better than someone who's actually funny taking the piss out of him because they could have made him feel bad about it. Like what Basil said wasn't even funny. So if that's the worst that
It's
Just
just
happened,
a
looks like
cringe
a
word.
Sorry, what did I miss here?
not Cookie
Yeah, I think
bawling
it's
his eyes
too-
out on TV again. They had footage of him crying after Revolt's last home game. He was caught on TV crying.
Not even his last game, guys. Not even his last game.
Moral
Just
last
his last
game.
game that he had.
Let's go to briefly on a couple of games that happened over the weekend. The VFL and TAC Cup Grand Finals were decided by kicks after the siren. Neither of which
We don't
landed-
watch that shit.
Well, no, neither of which got the
This is not
desired
a
result.
suburban
but
podcast.
The VFL one, not so much. Like Port Melbourne won. I think some people would be happy about that. Obviously, not myself.
Yeah, good on Robin Nahas getting a ship medal.
On your Sammy Dwyer.
But the TAC Cup one is the one I want to dwell on with the poor
Oh,
kid missing from
mate.
15 metres out directly in front after the siren to win the game.
After the whole coaching box was celebrating.
And the bench
Oh.
were ready to run. Did you see the footage of the bench ready to run on the ground? They're like bracing themselves. And then the reaction, it's just like, oh man, it wasn't unmissable, but it wasn't far off either. It was just like, oh.
But
It was far enough to mess up that...
Not one of those Sandringham people ever considered he was going to miss it.
No, none of them did. Oh yeah, the coach's box, like they kissed the coach on the forehead and everything. It was just like, oh.
The ultimate cock block.
It was brutal.
It was for an under-18s game too, like an apprenticeship
Like-
and everything.
There was an article or something like Fox Sports or something posted the link and the video and whatever. And like all the comments on Facebook were like, this kid's career is ruined. No one's drafting you. You're shit. It was fucking brutal. Like you would have thought that kid had the worst night of his life.
That would genuinely suck though, with such high stakes to miss. Like plenty of players have missed from there before, but never quite with those stakes.
In your last game before possibly being drafted.
Yeah, like some of those kids
I mean,
will not
I
play
said-
football at a level resembling that ever again.
He
might
I
not.
said pre-show that I don't think, like, particularly if he has a career, that he'll remember this moment one bit. But thinking about it, since every kid has had the fantasy of having the kick after the siren and winning the grand final.
Yeah, his dream
And-
became a nightmare.
Yeah. So in that respect, I think I'm starting to rethink my position. I think maybe it is a bit bigger of a deal than I potentially had thought it
You
might have
could
been.
see how shattered he was. Like he wasn't quite not Cookie upset, but I think I did see a couple of tears.
On a
I've
scale
got-
of 1 to not a cookie, he was a 7.
yeah.
Well, I've got that photo.
I
It's still like,
I must say, I give props to his teammates who all ran in and picked him up off the ground straight away. Oh, that was really nice.
Well, I think they were already running in to celebrate. So actually, since you mentioned that, I didn't mind Trent Cotchin's move after Richmond won the game on Saturday.
You just knew it. Fucking Mr. Nice Guy. You knew where he was running to. Straight away, I was like, fuck off, Trent. Stop being so likable.
what did he do?
He ran straight
He
to
ran
Deledio.
straight to Deledio.
who was
And obviously not
quite
to
shattered.
pat him on the head.
Nah, basically just to,
I love you,
No,
man.
shake his hand.
that would have sucked for him. He probably wouldn't be getting a game at Richmond at the moment anyway, but it still would have, or he would have been creating a selection headache. But most of them appeared to get to him.
Because when they were showing the footage, they didn't show you what he was running to. It was just a close-up of him running. But I knew straight away where he was going. Mr. Nice Guy.
Yeah, he is a bit like that, isn't he? He's just too perfect.
That's just his hair, man.
Lucky he's cucked by his wife.
Where do we want to go next?
Well, do we want to discuss your hiccups or what?
No, we don't discuss the fucking hiccups. Can we go to what someone wanted to say about the Coach of the Year thing? Can we get that elephant out of the room, please?
Well, we can't. The elephant is firmly entrenched.
It's not an elephant in the room. It's a fucking
It just is what it is.
100-foot elephant. It's the elephant from the fucking Who Wants to Be a Millionaire that's bigger than the moon.
It's undeniable.
It might have started off as a joke, but now, it's just fact. And you're
legitimate.
wrong.
Just before we go, this whole Coach of the Year, we are talking about the same one else the Clarksons never won, yes?
Nice try.
Bill Belichick hasn't
No.
won the
No.
NFL Coach
Oh.
Award.
No.
That does.
Just saying, I'm just saying.
The longer you play
just
the
because they've
charade,
been-
the more smarter I am and the more stupider you look.
Just
You-
because they've
it's
been
not-
wrong
not
in the
too late.
past.
It's
they've
not
been
too late.
wrong in the
Well,
past.
wrong in the past
doesn't
4
make 'em wrong
times.
this year.
4 times.
Doesn't make them wrong this year. They're
They've
right
given it to
this year.
Beveridge twice, and he didn't even keep his Jock McHale medal.
Yeah, but
Well, that's all right.
flavour of the month. It's the
We know
AFL, my
Dimmer's
friend.
going to give it to Mrs. Hardwick and Rioli's going to give it to Dimmer's daughter.
Jeez.
At least they don't have to give it to his bedroom.
Go on. What else we got?
What else? What have you got to say?
Yeah.
Nothing. Well, he won a prelim final. Good.
Yeah, and the Coach of the Year award.
Yeah, the one that Clarkson's never fucking won.
Took from the primordial filth, which is the bottom of the AFL ladder, to the to the biggest stage of all. So he's essentially gone from...
With basically the same list. It's almost like he wasn't... It's almost like his game plan had them underachieving last year.
No.
And he
but
changed the game plan.
He's taken a club from the Rudy Hill RSL play of the year to Broadway. It's
I
unprecedented.
don't think they have plays in Rudy Hill.
Bro.
Stop deflecting, you cunt.
I'm
Thank
just
you,
saying, like,
Paul.
the list was there, so...
What happens if he magically
No.
stumbled on the formula to get that team clicking? And
He
maybe
didn't stumble
13th
on the
was it?
formula. I supplied it to him.
After the game, Jack Rewalt was talking about the coach and talking about the captain, and he said that Hardwick had made changes to the way that he operated and the way that he had become more open and blah, 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 and he'd improved. So the list may have been the same, but the coach has improved, and because of that, you are where you are.
No, it's just now that they're not underachieving.
God, shut up, Sparkles.
honestly, Starburns, don't be a prick and give Mr. Hardwick the appropriate respect.
For what?
He deserves it. I don't
It's a
want to
grand
hear
fi-
any
It's
more.
a grand final.
I don't want to.
Yeah, which you hadn't achieved in 35 fucking years.
Mm.
I don't want to hear any more carousel bullshit about him.
Oh,
being
really? So you're going to tell me that didn't play a role? You're going to tell me that didn't play a huge role? He's been already credited with the attacking philosophy.
Oh, do they have an assistant coach of the year award?
Is this the point that we acknowledge that Nathan Buckley is responsible for 2010?
I never said he wasn't. I was on your side with that.
Yeah, because you
But
know
I mean,
your fucking agenda, that's why.
Oh, yeah, that means... Yeah, you know who's responsible for 2008? Damien Hardwick.
oh, fantastic.
Clark already had you going in the right direction.
That's why
Smart.
Clarkson didn't get Coach of the Year that year, because everyone knew it was Hardwick. Hang on, actually, there is an Assistant Coach of the Year award. It's further down in the article, and the winner this year was Reece Shaw for taking Sydney's Neefle side as their development coach to the Neefle Grand Final.
which, I mean, essentially means he got him to the
He
ground.
never would have developed that skill for coaching without the way he responded to certain criticisms early in his career. Really, it gave him some resilience.
Well, if you're taking credit for Reece Shaw now, maybe it was your criticism of Hardwick last year that helped him develop the resilience and mental edge he needed to succeed this year.
So this is what we have to do. We have to pander to your
No,
ego.
see, I'm not.
if
See,
you
no, no, I'm
wouldn't-
not. No. I know what Penal's trying to pander to my ego with that, but I'm still not. I'm not indulging that.
I'm not trying to pander to your
Starburns.
ego. I'm trying to get you to
Starburns.
backtrack on the Hardwick.
Well, you're
Starburns,
trying to
you
use
part
the
of
ego,
the,
but no, I'm not doing it.
You were the Hitler-looking bloke on the Focus on Footy.
No, I was fucking not. How old do you people think I am?
Old enough.
Let's move on to Gary Ablett has officially walked on the Suns' worst kept secret in football is out.
Who cares?
Shocked to be sitting here.
Did anybody catch the rumour that the age, so it's probably Sam McClure, so it's probably not true, was running with that apparently the Gold Coast have said, fair enough, we would like Mitch Duncan.
Yeah, Mitch Duncan or Nakia Cockatoo, they've said.
That's fine. I have no issue with Gold Coast asking for the world because they have remunerated that gentleman, and the way he bailed on that club this year was fucking disgusting.
I don't want to travel interstate, guys.
He emotionally checked out fucking a year and a half ago. Cunt.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
I hope he does his shoulder in the preseason and never plays again. Cunt.
it's not incumbent. It's not incumbent on the Gold Coast.
Well, he's
It's not
done
injury
injuries.
trolling. It hasn't happened.
I think it technically is an injury trial.
No, it's not
Yeah.
injury trolling if you just want it to happen.
Yeah, but it's fair enough though because he's
It's
a cunt.
acceptable. Yeah, he has been a grade A.
And you can hide
He
behind
hasn't.
this thing and the family thing and all of that. The guy's a mercenary. He's done nothing to grow the game up there. He's taken all of their money. He's delivered nothing, and he's fucking off with a paycheck.
No, don't
that
you
he
dare
hasn't
say,
earned.
don't you dare say he has done nothing. He has spread God's word up there.
Oh, great.
In that
Yeah.
That's
sinful
what we
town.
need. God bother us.
Yes,
Thanks a lot, Gary.
he's brought enlightenment to the sinners.
Yeah.
It's not very Christian of Gary Ablett to just bail on this. It's just, there's probably something Jesus says, don't be a cunt to your teammates.
Jesus said, don't be a
Yeah, I'm sure that was written in the Bible somewhere.
The gospel
Yeah, I
is
think that was like
cookie.
John
He
Yeah.
said,
14.
yeah,
Well,
to
no, it
his
was- it
disciples,
was
do not be a cunt.
The 11th unwritten commandment: Thou shalt not be a cunt to thine teammates.
Cookie 24/17. I'm happy. The rumor is he'll just retire if he doesn't get the trade.
I hope so. Fuck off.
So be it. Unless the Gold Coast get what they perceive as a reasonable deal for him, I'd be digging in. For all the rubbish, they have, even this current contract that he's on, they front-loaded it. So he's taken the bulk of the cash and checked out this season
Well,
probably.
nothing.
Well.
Nothing.
And, it's just, they should have no responsibility to fulfill his needs. I can understand, a draftee after 2 years, I just got to get home. I can't handle it. I need to be home. I'm too homesick. It's not ideal, but
I'm too home shit.
homesick, I said.
It sounded like you said home shit.
I'm sorry. I've got a list.
It's all right. It's just funny that Dan picked up on it because Dan can't speak properly.
Dan's always on making the fuck up.
Not really, but anyways.
He always denies it.
But at that point, you're happy for the club to deal in good faith. But in this case, that Geelong are going to basically lowball the shit out of Gold Coast, and they shouldn't cop that.
But if you're Gold Coast, you're more than within your rights to just ask for Mitch Duncan or someone, and you know what? Geelong will probably be desperate enough to pay up eventually.
Well, now that they put it out there, I would say that there would be probably maybe a 60-40 split of fans wanting him back for the romance factor. And there might be a little bit more pressure to get the deal done than what there might have been if they just shut the fuck up about it.
The funny thing about this is, this actually reminds me of last year when they wanted Deledio, and we put the request in, no thank you, give us Caddy. And Geelong said, no, and Caddy said no. And then somehow along the lines between that, Deledio ended up at the Giants, and we got Caddy for fuck all.
Yeah. Which, you know, Toledo would probably have been a reasonable deal. Like,
And exactly, and well, we came out way ahead on both of those.
oh yeah,
games.
no, you got overs for him.
Yeah, and we got Caddy for unders, and I imagine that must have changed because Geelong probably got a little bit concerned, thought, well, hang on, maybe let's just see if Josh wants to go. And in that, as it always is, when a player gets asked or shopped around, like Riscatelli at Brisbane and all that stuff, they might get shitty and want to leave in the end. Do you reckon if Geelong even raise this with Mitch Duncan, all of a sudden things just flip on their head? Like,
He would
Yeah,
want to demand
like-
to move back west.
Surely he's like,
Duncan needs to consider it, because what position does Mitch Duncan play?
Field.
So where is he going to fit in with fucking Crabtree, Duckwood, Danger Dick, and fucking serial killer son?
Serial
but-
killer son.
but at the same time, Duncan's like their third best
Yeah,
player.
Duncan's
so
their third
if you,
best midfielder. He's better than
if-
Guthrie.
if they do come to him and ask, would you
Yeah, but
be
he
willing
looks
to...
very vanilla. So they're
He's-
gonna-
Yeah,
He's
he is vanilla,
overrated,
but at
guys.
the same time, if Geelong
It's
come
just
to him and
unhot.
say, would you move on, then of course he'll crack the sads and fucking seek a trade
And he's
because
already won a
he is
flag
pretty
too.
much their third best player. And so if Geelong come to him and say, we'll trade you, then of course he'd crack the shits.
I just can't wait, though, to see how this plays out. With Geelong wanting all these players that barely they could afford. Like, I'd be surprised they could afford one without tearing their list apart any further. What have they signed up to?
Could be a master stroke if Ablett's fit. They end up becoming a three-man team.
Here's a
Well,
two-man
they
team
said
took them
people
to a
rested.
prelim. A three-man might take them a bit further.
Yeah, they might actually kick more than one goal in the fucking quarter.
Stringer's the one they should be
Well,
after, whether they can get him or
think
not.
of what a fit Ablett that's not going to get tagged is going to do in a season of football.
Every
I mean-
team in this competition should be after Stringer, and the dogs are fucking stupid.
Yeah, they trade JJ, you idiots.
like, in terms of draft picks, what has Geelong got?
Nothing.
2018 first rounder, that's it.
And they can't trade that because of the 4-year rule.
Now the AFL will fucking make up some rule to let them
Yeah,
trade
but-
like they did last
They
year.
can't, because they'll be 5 years.
Now they'll make up some bullshit rule. Like
Yeah,
they'll
because
get
they-
rid of that rule altogether
They've
before
kicked
they
the can
enforce
down
it.
the road a lot, haven't they?
Sorry?
The AFL.
No,
this one.
it
They've
starts at
moved those
2019.
thresholds a lot, haven't they?
It starts at 2019.
They're RG3ing it, though.
Also, let it go. If Geelong want to destroy their future
Let it go.
for a shitty chance of a flag, then all the power to them.
Yeah, but then the
Well, they'll
government's
get
going to have
flagged.
to
They're
bail them
fucking
out
shit.
again by giving them another fucking scoreboard for the cheat ground or something.
Or debt forgiveness.
Let's go to this week on the Bay. What do we got for thread of the week?
I
The
kinda
trade
like-
draft, Fred. The trade draft.
Trade draft thread. You can't give it to the trade draft thread.
Well, then,
Your Twitter one.
The Kevin Durant tweets.
Yeah.
Let's go something non-reach around first, and we'll see if we land back
I
there.
like that one the best.
Okay. What else we got, though?
Lethality has a knack for making really funny thread titles, and when I saw I called for Joel Selwood to step down as captain, I just started laughing. I hadn't even
I called
clicked on the
for-
thread yet.
Mothra started the bottom 50, only one entry so far, at least it's when we started recording, so that was pretty good.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll have its week in future.
I liked Zach's, what is it? The James Hurd Fred, which got the
I
rail.
liked Zach's other effort, which went very underappreciated on Saturday or Sunday when he came out with Richmond or Adelaide's grand final, which I thought was very clever and really, like, as he said, Smasher, where have you been on that? And I feel the Bay sort of let that one go as well, which was disappointing. I thought that was a good one.
Simple but brilliant.
And when you think about it, you go, God, that's obvious, but at the same time, no one else thought of it. It's just like, how do you miss something like that? I thought that was very good, though.
Oh, the meltdown Fred for Vesti, that was pretty
Vesti,
funny.
the AFL's corrupt.
Yeah.
LW sulking about how much yellow and black there is in Richmond at the moment is amusing, but probably for different reasons.
Huggers give up a 3-goal lead in the grand final with 5 minutes to go.
At lunch.
Surprising meltdown. Like, sort of tag, reading through it.
Oh,
Definitely
that was
surprising.
David Schwartz melting about Port Melbourne, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit random.
I thought it'd be Richmond. Richmond just like, nope, David Schwartz. Like,
Take your partner for a roll on the red carpet from VJ, I quite like.
Damien Hardwick wins Coach of the Year. That's a nice thread. You got tagged like 100 times in that thread.
So, any other noms? I imagine this is probably going to end up being the trade draft thread, despite the fact it's existed for a long
Probably,
time.
yeah.
But is that our winner?
It's got to be.
Okay, people go find it. Trade draft in news.
Or don't.
Well worth a read.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or not.
Yeah. Well, you decide whether it's worth the mental scarring.
Let's go to flog of the week. What do we got?
oof. Vesty.
I just think we can almost throw a blanket and take your pick over any Geelong flog this week. Now, the amount of salt over what was it must be the qualifying final and the lack of the cheat ground, but the amount of salt from Geelong flogs, I'm talking basically all of them at some point or another. Vesty and Chappie were the only two I didn't see doing it, and then Cochin got off, so Vesty sort of jumped in there. But
It's
LW,
fucking-
Sukin, and
Harrow lad has got to be fucking first place on this one.
what's he up to?
Oh, it's just search by post on him, and it's just Richmond this, Cochin that, just fucking incessant whining. And he's an SFA tard as well, so that just gives him another reason to be flog of the week.
Yeah, well, I think that's pretty good. Because, yeah, I could nominate it. Like, I think Mary James is probably, if I had to narrow it down to one, my front runner this week. At least Chef Meister's been pretty funny in parts. Or L-Dub as another one. Just because he moved to Richmond and then somehow thought that when they made a grand final that the place should just stay the way it is. Like, fucking hell. That's like moving to Geelong and complaining that the crime rate went up after they won. Like, who else we got?
Starburns, might have to give you a nomination this week.
Oh, yeah?
It pains me to do this, but, well, not really.
I'm amazed it does. We've given it to you weeks and weeks and weeks.
That's true. I owe you a lot, so many nominations. But
They were
for
never
you
my
this
idea.
week, yeah, sure they won't. Why didn't we do the Brownlow podcast, the live one last night? I have a theory that we didn't do it because you knew that Dusty was going to win it, and being a Richmond supporter, you wanted to indulge in watching the telecast in your own comfort sort of way rather than being distracted by 5 or 6 other people saying shit at the same time. I think you have put yourself in front of us and the people that wanted to listen to the live telecast, which is very, very popular.
You know what? I will begrudgingly agree with the sentiment of your point in that I did put myself first, not for the Dustin Martin reasons, but purely because the closer it got, the more I could not be fucked. Once Mixler was no longer an option, I just could not be finding a new system because didn't appear to be one that would do it as easily for me. And at that stage, I was just like, I've been sick for like a week, like last
You're
week.
sick of your life.
No, I'm better now, but I was sick. And
Oh, yeah?
Yes. And
You haven't coughed yet, so I have
Yeah.
to take your word for it.
No, I was better, but I was just I'd been tired. It had been a good weekend, and I knew that this is going to be a big week, and I just thought, I really can't be fucked doing all that shit. Like, I think
Okay.
it had more to do with Richmond making the grand final than Dusty winning, but 90% the fact that Mixler started charging us for something that used to be free, and I couldn't be fucked.
All right, I'll retract my nomination then.
If we still had Mixler, we would have done it.
Get Chiefs to pay for it next year. Use the internet money.
The internet's money.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
Yeah, that's what we should have fucking done.
Yeah, maybe we can get a couple of months worth out of the $85 that the Grille got from Morgs.
No, that'll be just on that. Anyone who did donate will be getting their money back.
Oh,
I donated $50, so I better see that in my bank account.
yeah, I donated 250 grand. So just
I'm not-
as soon as
Yeah,
you
I'm
can
not-
get that back to me.
I
can
am
go to
not
Canada.
financing your trip to Canada, fuckhead. Just,
No, it's the visa. Then he might be able to get it.
So who does get flog of the week?
Just give it to the entire Geelong football supporting base on Big Footy.
How about that Catman flog for turncoating?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiger Man.
Tiger
So who
Man.
is Who is Catman on Bay 13? Which one's going to be Catman?
L-Dub.
L-Dub? Sure.
No, because he's had a photo with Catman, so it can't be him.
Nah, that's classic misdirection.
Nakia. He seems psychotic enough.
Haven't seen
Yeah.
Nakia since they won. I wonder if he's since they lost. I
Sure
wonder
it's
if he's
not
been
Peach.
locked up, or his wife told him he's not allowed to post on Big Footy again. So, which Geelong flog?
All of them. The whole
I
board.
thought Mary James was starting to get a bit touchy about all the jibes, but then that said, was probably the only poster on Geelong's board that stayed in that match thread the distance, so you can't give it to them.
Well, you
Yeah,
can.
Mary James liked a few of my posts on the transgender thread. I don't think I can nominate.
Let's give Flog of the Week to all the Geelong flogs. Now let's go to the preview of the game. A winner, Norm Smith, Leon Davis medal, and a margin, and obviously just one other prediction for the day. Could be grand final sprint, could be entertainment, could be who Hardwick or Pike gives their Jock McHale medal to, whatever. Or parade even.
Going to tip Richmond by 16 points. Shane Edwards, Norm Smith,
Oh, shit.
7th best player.
No,
I
it's
thought
Grigg.
Greg was the 7th.
Oh no! All
Six is
right, well, I'm tipping Edwards, and
Yeah, Edwards is the 6th.
and Leon, I will give to the Texan. I don't get the big game player shit. I don't think he's a big game player. He's a big dickhead.
Oh, there you go.
And Craffles to get kicked out of the front bar.
Bar party. What for?
I don't know. Trying to find a bath.
What, going up to the bar that they sit out and asking for a drink, or?
No, a bath, I think was the comment, wasn't it?
Bath.
Oh, bar.
If you've
Sorry.
ever seen Craffles posted, Craffles has been photographed in a bar.
I thought it would
Yeah.
be because Steve Morris was the guest on the front bar.
Oh, Steve Morris is there. Craffles get kicked out for saying he's yuck at football.
I'm going to go. Winner is Richmond. I'm going to go 8 points. Norm Smith medalist, Alex Rance. Leon Davis medalist. It pains me to say this, but I'm going to go Rory Sloan.
Oh.
He would have to have an absolute stinker to get it, though.
If you tag him, he's every chance.
I will say this, though,
I guess so.
going into the Leon Davis medal before it happens. I'm not doing the Leon because win or lose, I probably won't be around till after the Killers have played their second gig. The Rioli clause of a few years ago, the flog in charge of it has been told to invoke the Rioli clause, if required, which was when Cyril only had about 8 kicks and Hawthorn won, but every Geelong flog on the Bay wanted to vote for him. And I didn't put him in the poll because I knew they would. They cried a lot, but fuck them. If Rory Sloan gets fucking 15 touches or Cooksen gets 15 touches, I don't care how much you flogs fucking cry. Looking at you, Red Vest. They're not going in the poll.
It has to be legitimate.
It's got to be a legit worst on ground.
I want to make another guess of another Leon Davis medalist. I'm going to feel actually that Charlie Cameron's going to play a crap game.
You have to have a bad game. You can't have an average game and be the worst player on the ground.
So expectations is a minute part of it. It only gets like a 10% weighting.
Expectations plays a role. Like if Cooksen or Sloan got less than 15 disposals, for example,
Yeah.
or Dusty got
Well,
less than 15, I think you could
like
say...
if you look
yes.
at like the reputation and combined with contract amount, like even if he'd had a complete shit game, Jeremy Laidler probably wouldn't have ever gotten in the poll last year, and
Yeah,
he
because
certainly
there was
wouldn't
no-
have beaten, say, Kurt Tippett or Gary Rowan,
Yeah.
just because of the reputation thing.
So it
plays
is
a
real.
part.
It is fluid.
The idea is that it is the worst player on the ground, and that is open to interpretation. But at the same time, someone who has a legitimate claim to worst on ground should get it, not just most average.
You have to be a legitimate reason as to why the
Yeah,
team
like
lost.
Cyril a few years ago, he's the main example I use because I think he's the only time we've ever had to do that in any serious context.
Cyril had, I think, 8 touches coming back from like an 8-week hamstring injury, first game back and got subbed off
And he
at
had
time
6 of them in the first quarter, but you were so far in front by then.
in a bloody 11-goal win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
But
you're never gonna.
He
you're
did
never
all
gonna
his
get it.
work when the game was on the line, and then you had the luxury of mostly sitting him on the bench.
and half of his touches were from intercepting bloody Kurt Tippett's handballs. So, like, that's just more reason to give the award to Kurt Tippett or someone else.
I still have yet to do my other prediction.
Sorry.
Other prediction. There is bound to be, in the post-game, Richmond and Adelaide supporters somewhere along the line getting into a fight.
Well, I think that's a given.
Yeah, I was going to say, thanks, Nostradamus.
And also, Basil will get punched in the face during that fight.
That's too much to hope for, really, isn't it?
I'm going to tip a draw.
But it's not.
can't.
You can't have a draw because there's extra time.
Okay, and in extra time, I think the Tigers will win. Was it Norm Smith? We'll go with, I don't know. Yeah, I'll go Alex Rance. Leon Davis, medalist. He's 200 centimetres. He's over 100 kilos. He plays like a forward pocket. He is, without question, the biggest fraud of a footballer. His name is Josh Jenkins, and he will be the Leon Davis medal. He will not get out the back goals in this game. And if he doesn't get those, he doesn't do anything. And what was the other one again?
Just one other thing that's not part of that. Just anything that you want.
There'll be a streaker on the ground.
And it'll be down.
Human meatball.
And it might be me.
The reverse Helen to D'Amico.
I think Adelaide will win by 27 points. Norm Smith, I am going to say Rory Laird. I think David Asprey will get the Leon. I think Starburns will tear up when Matthew Prittis drives past.
Well, no, I will make sure there's no camera pointing at me before I do.
Standing
Just
ovation.
look for the one guy that's remained seating when Prittis is roaming around on the ground in the back of the car.
On the back of the Toyota Ute.
All right, I think Richmond by 7 points. I'm going to go Toby Nankervis for Norm Smith.
Oh.
And
His opponent.
putting in a dominant performance to outshine his fancied opponent, I reckon. And David McKay will take home the Leon, probably with 90% of the vote, with about 80% of those votes being from Crows fans themselves, because he's not very popular. And my prediction, well, I've got two predictions. I don't know where he'll be, whether he'll be at the game or not, but I think Not Cookie will be crying, whether it's over just the humanity of it all, seeing Richmond win a flag, and again, I don't know where he'll be, if he'll be at the game or whatnot, but I think Trade Draft will have a wank for the neck.
Just one.
One per quarter.
Every time he lies
Hashtag wank for Nank.
Alright, this just leaves me. 7 out of 10 times. If you were to play this game 10 times, we would lose 7 of them. But we won't, because I'm being optimistic, and I'm going to turn the optimism graph or ladder or whatever the fuck it's called, red vest, up to 70. And we're going to win by 14 points, led by Trent Cotchin as the Norm Smith medalist, to go with the Brownlow he received earlier this year. And I will echo Dan's sentiments and go with my prediction from last week of Josh Jenkins for the Leon. And the otherwise selection, look, a serious one, this will be the last daytime grand final. There'll be Twilight from next year onwards. The Killers will be the best grand final entertainment we've ever had. James Hird will get booed, and none of these are out of Geelong will win the grand final sprint. None of these are, of course, predictions that are particularly bold. So I guess the best I can go with is, I don't know, something to do with the fucking celebrations on Saturday night in Swan Street or in Richmond or around there. There will be...
Try to avoid needles.
There will be all sorts of damage done.
This This isn't a particularly bold prediction either, but I think LW will have a sook about it.
Well, that's where I was going. There will be all sorts of damage done throughout Richmond. There will be rioting, like sort of happy sort of rioting. There will be streets closed. And to cap it all off, LW's fixie will be thrown in the Yarra.
I hope it's by you.
I'm going to find every fucking bike in Richmond. And I'm gonna shit on the seat of every single one.
I've got to say, Herd will get booed, the degenerate scum fuck that he is, and I will
I'd be
enjoy that.
disappointed if he wasn't booed. He should be booed.
It's probably just as well that you've got Adelaide and Richmond, which is two of the more rowdy supporter groups.
That is true.
So they'd hopefully be able to deliver. Like if you'd have fucking Sydney St Kilda grand final, like the Sydney fans wouldn't care or wouldn't know what's going on, and the St Kilda fans would just be too nice, except for their banner department, who are a massive bunch of cunts. Wait, hey, by the way, speaking of St Kilda's banner, just pointing out that Jager O'Meara got one Brownlow vote this year in his last game. So he got more Brownlow votes from 5 games than Andrew McGrath got all year. Fancy that.
Wicked.
Not bad for a bloke with no knees.
But not great for a person that costed two first rounders or whatever he ended up costing.
Yeah, I'd love to see what those draft picks actually polled, if they polled it or how much they poll over their careers from here on in. Just on that, and I forgot to mention it within the Herd part, but James Herd presenting it to Trent Cotchin, presenting the Norm Smith to Trent Cotchin would be delicious. So in that case, I hope it happens.
I hope it's Dusty, just for the pure reason of he probably gives no fucks. It would be the most likely type of like any players to say something to him. Because even if it was Koch, he wouldn't have a dig, but Dusty might.
The problem is that Dusty wouldn't care to have a dig.
Yeah, that's what I reckon. I reckon this comes back to the whole Cotchin's too nice thing. I think he'll shred that in the moment. He'll say, thanks, you fucking drug cheat. Or, no, thanks for the second medal, or something like that.
Yeah, he wouldn't be that overt and to call him a drug cheat, but he'd say like, oh, you gave me a Brownlow and now thanks for the Norm Smith as well.
Yeah, thanks for the Norm Smith and the Brownlow.
I hope somebody does the whole, the fake handshake when they go up.
Did anyone see Waite do that to the Melbourne player in the highlights package last night?
Yeah. Oh, that's been around, yeah.
Yeah, the old potential handshake.
Oh, he's a card.
Anyway, I think that's everything. This was the forecast for the grand final edition. Starburns joined by Morgs.
Bye. Good luck.
Dan.
Yeah, see you later. I'm going to go have a wank now. See ya.
Grille.
Good night, all.
Cookie.
9 a.m. Wake up. 9:01. Have a wank.
And Penal.
Is wanking a sin? If so, do you reckon like the deepest and darkest depths of hell will be reserved for trade draft?
You'll have to ask Gary.
I think it's like golf. After a certain period, you just max out.
No, but Gary Ablett's still underneath onto his team.
Yes, hang on. Speaking of Gary Ablett, does the Bible not say that the sins of the father shall be visited on the children?
Well, he did have to play for the Gold Coast, so...
Nah, I reckon Morgs' prediction of doing the shoulder and never playing again is going to come true, if that's the case.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week when there's either goo or tears on here.